Well, hello everyone, and it's that time once again. There is no theme song this evening because we're on my computer, not Ishi's computer. Ishi cannot join us this evening, but we are very, very excited to have William Hastings again. Yay!
Yay! So stoked!
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back on the show. I feel like I need to make a little bit of a confession before I was in fact born in the year of our Lord 1992, so I am technically not a pissed off Gen Xer. I'm a godless millennial, but I hope you guys will tolerate that, and we can have a good show.
There are certain sins that can be forgiven. No,
But seriously, though,
Um,
thanks for having me back.
of course. I'm just so happy to have you back on. This is
Yeah, it's great
wonderful.
to be back. It's been ages.
It's been forever. Okay, for those of you who don't know William, William is the author of The Crimson Spark, the Opal. I am so sorry, I'm blanking on the
The
title.
Opal
Opal Ember,
Embers.
Opal Embers, thank you, and Vatican Wrestling,
Vatican
and
Championship Wrestling, whose sequel, Seven Wonders, released on October 1st to
yes.
much acclaim. And I appreciate everybody who's been reading it and giving me feedback. And great news for everybody, the audiobook has officially started production. Matt Raywald, Aiden English, formerly of the WWE, is again coming back to do the audiobook, and it
Oh,
should be
wonderful.
early 2024.
Yay! And I'm especially excited for Opal Embers to come out on audio as well, because
Yeah, and I between you and me, I've been listening to the preview chapters, and it's such a production, it goes so much more than him just reading the book. He's really, really, he's written his own music. He's got these incredible like sound effects mixed in. It's immersive. It takes it to a whole new level, and I'm really excited for you to hear it.
Wait, who does?
oh,
Is it Vic Mignogna?
Yes,
Did,
yes, it
did,
is.
fucking love that man. Sorry,
Yeah,
I will sing praises about him forever.
he's great, and he's been so great to work with. He's such a nice guy, and he really cares about the book and the story. He loves the characters. He feels a real connection with them, and that makes all the difference in the world.
I could spend the whole episode going on and on and on about what Monica Rial, Chris Sabat, and Jamie Markey did to him.
A bunch of nerds. Well, he's crying all the way to the bank because he's gonna be if I can keep it up, I want him to do the whole series, and Vagabond Legacy is gonna be it's gonna be a big series. It's gonna be about 8 books, and I want him along for the ride.
You just got to promise me one thing, man. Don't let anything happen to Zaragan. Sorry, she's my favorite now. I fell
Isn't
in love
she
with her
great? I love
immediately.
her. She is
God.
she's a compilation of a bunch of really wonderful people that I've known over the course of my life, and her phobias and her little idiosyncrasies, it just makes her so much fun to write. I really enjoy having her around, and you're gonna really like what I have in store for her in book 3 because she takes a big role.
That's Azure
y-
Flame, right?
Yeah,
Or
the
yeah,
Cerulean Flame, yeah, or
Cerulean
Flare.
Flame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
okay. Yeah,
just
I'm
gonna
so
say
stoked about that.
once again, what I'm gonna say shouldn't be a novelty, and it's sad that it is. I love the fact that all of your characters have flaws. Every single one of them has flaws and personal things that they need to overcome, and and it just it's hard for me to pick a favorite character because I love all of them, and I love watching them try to figure themselves out as well as survive in this world that you've created. Like every single one of them, it's like, can I throw a dart at a board and say, okay, today this one's my favorite, no, this one's my favorite? I mean, seriously. Okay.
Well, Vagabond Legacy is kind of throwing all these characters in a row just to sort of see what happens with them. People who have different problems, different fears, different mental illnesses, whatever, and sort of having them revel in connecting with each other and overcoming the difficulties of the world. It's kind of an ode to the mental illness generations. Gen X, millennial people who've you know been isolated a lot because of the way their brains work, and you see a lot of that on the internet in particular.
I felt that you're gonna laugh when I say this. I felt you captured middle school mentality, not the young adult writing from like people like what's her name, Mariko Tamaki, not that, but the actual mental perils of going from a child to a teenager to a teenager. Because middle school always seems to be, that age group, 11 to 14. It seems to be the age that everybody struggles the most and a lot of people have the least fondest memories of. These four kids with everything that's going on around them, and you're watching them grow up and dealing with things that kids deal with, except they're also dealing with monsters and slavers and all sorts of crazy shit. I feel like you really were able to capture that age group and what they're going through and all the angst they're going through. I mean, they're going through so much shit, and it's horrible of me to say this. I fucking love it. I think it's great. I love watching these children go through angsty situations.
Well, I really appreciate that. I don't talk too much about my personal life, but in my real life, I'm a middle school teacher, and I wrote these books to sort of appeal to the students that I had at my older job in particular, where I worked with a lot of more troubled people. But at my current job too, people who are that age, they have a lot going on in their heads, and having sort of a story that captures it all, I thought would be nice, and in a real way, not like you said, people say YA, they don't really mean YA anymore. They don't mean for that age group.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you say that because the job that I'm trained in, I was a special ed assistant and I worked at middle schools. So
Ah,
I always worked with middle school kids. And they were my favorite age group to work with. When they're young, I hate to say, I can't handle when I had to work with elementary school kids and they didn't know how to go and run and throw up in a trash can, or they would just like piss and shit themselves. That's so horrible of me to say, but they did. And high schoolers are just like, I know it all.
jaded.
Yeah, middle schoolers, it's like for all the shit they're going through with their hormones and all that stuff, they're actually pretty chill.
Hey,
And
Ralts.
Hi, Ralph.
some of my
Hey,
students have actually read Spark and Embers and gotten back to me, and it's that feedback has been so interesting to hear from them.
Well, I hope it's good feedback.
Oh yeah, for sure. They think it's so funny. Like, oh my gosh, this is where this is the chapter with all the swear words in it.
How you doing this evening, Ralts?
okay. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. We've got William Hastings joining
I
us this
noticed.
evening.
Hey, Rolf.
I
Yeah.
noticed. Hey,
Yeah, and Ishii will not be joining us this evening. His medication is hitting him hard, so
ah,
but I'm sure he will be available tomorrow. But
uh,
yeah, everything okay?
yeah. I was just
Okay.
yawning.
Okay. But yeah, William's talking about his latest books. He's got one came out in October, and
Yes,
then the next
Vatican
one's coming out in
Championship Wrestling 2, Seven Wonders came out in
yeah.
October.
Yes.
2024 is probably going to be the biggest year for me as an indie publisher. I have the Opal Embers audiobook, Seven Wonders audiobook, Vagabond Legacy 3, The Cerulean Flare, and my spy story, my James Bond style spy novel is finally going to be on Kickstarter.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yes,
good.
that is going to come out right after the Vagabond Legacy 3.
You know what would be cool?
Hmm?
If
Hmm?
Vatican Championship Wrestling got turned into like a Mortal Kombat video game.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
play the fuck out
man.
of that. In the name of the Lord, I smite thee.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to Vatican Championship Wrestling. I have a stack of books. But there's never enough time of day to read all the books that I want to. Now, I still haven't read Boogie Pop yet, Kat. It's driving me nuts. It's there. I'm slowly, my pile is slowly lowering. Of course, when I come to visit you guys next year, I'm probably going to go to Bookman's and make the pile go back up. But
Yeah,
until
the
then,
the trick is to have the pile be the ones that you've finished, and keep the ones you haven't on the shelves. That way you feel really accomplished when you look at it.
See, I'm opposite. I'm like, I put it in a pile, and then it's like putting away on like a trophy shelf the book that I
Mm.
finished. Like, all right, one more down.
This has actually been a really good year for me reading. I think I've read more this year than I have in the last 10 years. It's
What have
been
you been
great.
reading?
I decided in August that I wanted to read every book that James Elroy ever wrote.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And I went in kind of a weird order. I did the LA Quartet, then I did Lloyd Hopkins, then I did his early books, and now I'm doing Underworld USA. And all the while I did his autobiography in the background. And he's been a trip. I like him a lot.
Mhm. No, he's amazing. I actually got to meet him at a Mysterious Galaxy actually, Janelle. And
Really?
that was yeah,
Really?
that was really neat. He did a signing there for oh God, what was it called? The sequel to Black Dahlia.
The Big Nowhere.
Yeah, he did
That's actually my favorite one of his for sure.
a signing for that, and that was nice chatting with him for a little bit. I could have killed my father-in-law for totally embarrassing the shit out of me, but anyway, he seemed okay about it.
Yeah, but this is your father-in-law, and we've heard the story.
Yeah,
So,
it's like, oh, I'm so could murder you. But anyway, that would be appropriate for James Elroy.
Yeah. What are you all reading?
Oh my
I'm
God.
reading The Time of the Twins by Margaret Weiss and Tracy.
Dragonlance.
Yep. That cat bought
Nice.
it for me and sent it to me
I think it's
immediately.
I think it's the
Yes.
second. It's the second series, isn't it?
Yep, it's the
Yes.
second series
Is this
after
the one
the main
with
one.
the wizard who's got the yellow skin and
Yep.
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Twin Saga, I like. I mean, you have to read the original trilogy because otherwise
That's
you're
like
gonna be lost for everything. Yep,
Autumn
Dragons of
Twilight
Autumn.
or whatever. Yeah.
But the Twins was my favorite of all of that. So when uh Janelle is like, I hate Raceland, I'm like, here, read this, you'll love it even more.
It's him and the dumbass elf who I can never remember his name, the bearded one.
Tanis?
Tanis. Okay, because in my head I call him Taint.
Oh,
I hate the guy, so his nickname is Taint.
yeah,
Isn't he the main
unfortunately,
character?
Tanis, yeah,
I hate
but
that guy so much. He's such a douche.
my problem with Tanis is that he's written like a well, he's written like a PC. He's not a character.
Well, I
So
mean, aren't they all technically PC?
sort of, but the twins are like characters with their own personalities and they're well fleshed out where Tanis is obviously somebody's stand-in. So,
Yeah.
I
You know,
I
they have Tannis in the new like 5th edition books as like the prototypical whatever class he's supposed to be.
half elf ranger. Is he a
Yeah.
ranger? Yeah.
like sorry, you are not Aragorn.
Yeah, you will never be Aragorn. I think
No.
that's actually what they were trying to do. He was supposed to be like Strider. Like, no,
Yeah.
he's Taint.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he has that space between the penis and the ball sack. I cannot stand that character. That's how much I can't stand him. I like Raistlin more than I like him. I
Raislin's
love to
pretty
hate
popular.
Raistlin.
Raislin's
I
kind of like Edward Edward from Twilight 1.0.
uh,
Handsome, broody, dark, mysterious.
Yeah, but
He was
Raceland's
never.
an
He was
asshole.
never. He was never listed as handsome.
Oh, he
No.
wasn't?
No.
No.
No,
no, he was skinny
that's
and sickly.
Caramon.
Oh,
Yeah, his
my
brother.
knowledge, my limited knowledge of D&D is showing.
I've got to say the one reason like I said, I love to hate Raceland. And spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't read the series, so plug your ears from it. I got to say he had a set of adamantium balls to try and overtake the Queen of Darkness and become the new God of Darkness at the end of the series. Just like, holy shit, dude, you did this all just to try and become a god.
Yep.
Hey.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that how a character ends in AD&D? Like if you get to the level cap?
It depends on the setting. Depends on what books you're using.
Okay.
Yeah, you wrote some of those supplements, right?
Yeah, I helped with some of them.
Really?
Not with 5e. Nothing. Well, there was some 5e stuff I helped with, but nothing 4e. And I got out of tabletop. With a good reason too, because wow, they're turning it into a trash fire.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I hear. Even people even people I know who are kind of left of center really just are down on 5th edition. Like, it's so lazy.
Oh, 6th edition is good. 6th is going to be worse.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God, they're working on 6th now.
Yep.
Jesus.
Oh, I'm getting popcorn for that one. I'm just gonna sit back and watch. Because it sounds like the tourists are going to start freaking out because it's going to be bad enough that the tourists are going to be like, ew, no.
They're getting everything they want.
Oh, this is the edition where they're finally getting everything they want.
Yes.
Okay.
No more mention of slavery. Races aren't created evil. There are no evil gods.
No more evil alignment, or
no, as in orcs aren't all evil.
Oh.
Oh my fuck.
But it says they are in the book.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
They got rid of witches. They got rid of druids.
What?
They're either getting rid of or renaming barbarians. I can't remember which.
What are they going to be called? Hairy, cuddly love bugs instead of barbarians?
Something that won't offend anyone.
Why is barbarian offensive?
I don't know.
Because they're uneducated and unwashed.
I don't have a head wound. I don't know.
You know what really gets me is the erasure of slavery is so interesting to me. Like, removing it from tabletop, removing something that's existed in every single human civilization from tabletop role playing is fascinating to me. I don't understand it.
It hurts people's feelings. Just the mention of it.
Yeah, I when I was drafting Spark, I showed it to a few people, and some of them said, including slavery is kind of a, might not want to do that. But I don't. It's so strange the way people sort of blackball these historical topics, and you just got to pretend that they just don't exist.
And they never existed.
Right? Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't listen to those people that said for you not to put slavery in your books, because the slavery subplot is so friggin' important to the storyline.
It is.
And it really is. And it really shows that those kids are up against something incredibly evil. And they're always on the run. It's like that specter that keeps chasing them. And so it makes it really scary when they come across adults. So you're reading the book, I'm like, are you actually cool or not?
Yeah, and it's kind of like how kids have to be around adults now. You don't know who wants to hurt you or not.
Oh yeah.
The slavery is going to be the focal point of book 3. That's going to be kind of the main plot for the first time.
Oh, so we actually get to see the Grassers up front and
you get to sort of meet the man behind the curtain, the one who's sort of organizing it all.
Oh,
they kill him.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. I hate the Grassers. He's done an excellent job with the Grassers.
Oh, well, thank you. And not to spoil anything about him, but he's not the kind of person you would expect to be in that role, particularly in the way stories are written now. But hold on, I was gonna try to remember something here.
Okay. No.
I lost it. But no. Slavery, important fiction.
Oh, it is, because how were the pyramids built? Apparently, magic.
Aliens. Did you see Stargate?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we all know from research nowadays that it was mostly professionals, but that's not the point.
Right? We're not allowed to talk about that anymore.
What about Rome? It didn't exist.
No.
Well, everybody always talks about how the Vikings, the Norsemen, were such a forward-thinking tribe, and their women and their men were on equal footing. It's like, yeah, but what about their slaves?
They had
slaves?
The Norsemen, the men and women, were on equal footing.
That's what they've been teaching. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. that they ran with that shield maiden in the grave bullshit where they, when they said, "Oh, we found a woman," it really wasn't a woman, it was like small dude. But
Yeah.
they ran with that.
That is not something that I want my corpse to be associated with in the future. Oh,
Can
we
you
found her.
imagine being a Norse warrior and being mistaken for a female because you were tiny?
That's
Can you imagine
heartbreaking.
being in Valhalla, sitting there in the middle of drinking, and poof, you're wearing a bonnet, everybody starts
Yeah.
laughing at you.
Oh yeah,
Man-like
totally.
shaming exists in all cultures, apparently.
But I remember there was an article that came out and they were talking about how the men and the women were equal and they punished rape and murder, and it was like, yeah, but your men were going out and doing that to other cultures and
Mhm.
enslaving them. And you literally can see when you tell people this that are totally hardcore about. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I call it the glitch,
Yeah,
where their brain
I
can't
love the
like
glitch.
accept the fact that you're telling the truth, and then they'll have to change the subject. Like, I've watched people literally go blue screen of death for like 5 seconds when I explain this shit to them. It's hysterical.
Oh yeah, I love the blue screen of death.
Yeah, you can hear that modem sound.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
you can hear the Windows shutdown noise as they just stare at you blankly. It's
It's
like,
Doo, doo,
so
doo.
like people, I'm sorry, it's a cult at this point. I mean, it is the weirdest shit. I don't know how historians 50 years from now are going to write about this. Either we are literally going to be idiocracy, or there are going to be so many scientific papers
who
that
said
come
anybody's
out.
going to be who said there's going to be anybody who can read?
That's a good point, Ralt. Honestly, I think people are going to write about it the way they write about like the Great Leap Forward and that sort of era of Chinese history where everything was a lie and nobody knew it was true.
Oh, wasn't that after the
Uh,
Mao's Cultural Revolution?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
mhm.
Everything after the Chinese Revolution where Mao took over is it's so hard to disseminate
It's
like what is real and what
suspect.
is propaganda.
I still
Did
think
Kim
it's
Jong
great
Il
that
find a unicorn or not?
Mm.
you've heard the mango story that came out of China because of Mao, right?
No, I haven't.
No,
So
God.
I can't remember what country it was. China had done something for them. They were starting trade and they sent Mao this crate of mangoes. Well, he hates mangoes. So he's like, distribute it to, the unwashed masses and whatever town. So they get this crate of moldy mangoes and they start fucking worshiping it because the great dear leader gave it to them, and it is now preserved in a museum in China somewhere. The beautiful mangoes that the great leader bestowed upon this poor village because they were true in their communist beliefs of brotherhood and sisterhood. I'm not joking, look it up.
I know you're not joking.
That sounds
Not that,
about right. No, I think that's
not that
probably how
some.
people are going to look at things
Yeah.
that existed today.
That's
Oh
that's
my
some of the
God.
wildest shit I've ever heard, and I got to feel that's what I was saying. 50 years from now, there's going to be weird stories like
Oh,
that.
I remember what I was going to say. Um, I think the biggest problem with fiction right now is that everybody is so dishonest, and that sounds weird because everybody
Oh
thinks,
yeah.
"Well, you're telling fictional stories, you're lying professionally." But no, like one of the most important things an artist can do is be honest with both themselves and with the world that they're writing about. And there's none of that now
No.
in the fiction that's coming out. So there's nothing that's actually going to resonate with people or last past a couple years.
I think that's why both of your series, both yours, Ralts, and yours, William, people love it and just absolutely crave the next book because they are honest.
Well, too many people, too many writers come in to lecture you and teach you a lesson.
Right.
And tell you what it's really like. It's like I picked up some book off Kindle. Somebody passed it to me, and I was reading it, and the whole book was the biggest wish fulfillment. I mean, I write wish fulfillment, yeah, but I mean, this was no struggle. The protagonist, just everything they did magically turned out right, and everybody else was wrong. And it was like, wow, this got a publishing deal. It was just weird.
Yeah, and when fiction is dishonest, it really becomes toothless. Like it doesn't make you feel anything. It's like eating those packing peanuts that come in the mail.
Yeah.
There's no flavor, there's no substance. It's just nothing.
I actually think that's one reason illiteracy is on the rise is because mainstream fiction, not independent, mainstream has been pumping out such offal. I guess that's what I look at it is. It's the fucking drugs. It's gross. It's nothing. That kids honestly just don't want to read it. Why should they? I mean, my son didn't want to read anything that has come out now for his generation. We gave him 1984 and he finished it and he loved it. And he is sad that they don't have that in the libraries anymore. And I can go on about the libraries too. I'm pretty sure the reason you don't find 1984 in the libraries here is because it's California.
What?
Yeah, and so because I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was in middle school, 1984 was in the library along with Animal Farm.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's not in there now. I mean, you literally have that shit by Marika Tamaki in there. And this is the thing that sucks too, just going off on a side. There was for a while, the schools were bringing in manga for the kids to read. And that's how they were getting the kids to read and then move on to actually reading novels. They've taken away manga now too.
Well, yeah, it's
Because
because
it's too
manga has
violent.
violence and slavery
Yeah.
and gendered language and all the things that we're not allowed to have anymore.
I
Well,
think it
I was
also
happy when I'd
encourages kids
see
to think. I mean,
when I'd see the English language learners. Oh, sorry, Kat, I didn't mean to step on you.
oh, it's
I was just going to say the English language learners were learning English by reading Dragon Ball. And I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
Well, no, what I was gonna say is some of the most entertaining conversations I have had is you get any group of people, especially kids, but you get any group of people to talk about Death Note. Because Death Note makes people think. And it's interesting because I'll run into people who just don't read. They're not deep thinkers, they don't read, but if they've read Death Note, they will talk up a storm on their specific point of view of that book and why they chose the group, the side that they did
Yeah,
and
everybody
why
has
that
a strong
character is
opinion about
correct.
Death Note.
Yeah, everybody has an opinion, and but the thing is, it makes you think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is one of the most polarizing mangas I've ever read. You're either team LMN or you're team light.
But
and that's why 50 years later people are going to be reading that and the stuff that's being published now. Like the I've noticed that a lot of books for teenagers have this same name format where it's like the blank adventure or whatever of ethnic name, and it's every book like that, and those books are not going to be read in 5 years, let alone 50. But things like Death Note, things that resonate with people and make you feel emotions, which is why people consume fiction in the first place, those are going to stick around, and that's what people need to be working on creating more of.
I definitely agree with that. I feel that I guess I should say Chris, like with Chris, we've been blessed with a bevy of good teachers in schools at this point. Like his English teacher this year, she has them reading the biography of Frederick Douglass, but they just finished reading White Fang. So she's putting everything in there. So she can't get zapped by the education department for saying you're not having them read this, this, and this. She's like, no, I've got this, and now I've got this. And you don't see that in most schools. You hear the stories, they're reading like the books they were talking about, the adventures of so and so with their whatever ethnic group.
The Adventures of Dick Masterson and the Magical Vagina.
Exactly. Actually, I would read that.
So would I.
I would totally read that.
I would totally read that.
Can I
the
get
battle
that?
sluts and the battle sluts of Mars.
I am
Well,
so
one
there.
of the reasons I pursued VCW, Vatican Championship Wrestling, so vehemently is because I knew that title would grab people, because it sounds ridiculous. But when you open it up and you read the book, you'll see that I'm taking it 100% seriously. There aren't any jokes about the concept or the plot. This is actually what's happening. And I had a good conversation with with somebody about this recently, and like that's the key. If you take it seriously, your reader's going to take it seriously.
Mhm. And that's the thing with something like that, I mean, you can do it a little tongue in cheek, but it's better if you're serious.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way that I could sneak your guys' books in, but they have to be vetted. And even if the librarian wants to put in a kick-ass book, it has to be vetted, by the state.
Yeah, something tells me my books wouldn't pass that test.
I don't think mine would either.
And see, that's the thing, because I know for a fact, just from Chris's friends and hearing the kids at school, your books would be a hit. You've got aliens driving mechas killing AI in one series, and then you've got a fantasy series of a bunch of young kids with different abilities and different traumas going on this grand Lord of the Rings style adventure. That's what kids really want. But I
Yeah.
mean, at the same time, I'm going to say 50%, because we talked about this, last show or 2 shows ago, where Waltz talked about how the IQ for Gen Z dropped to 87
Ooh.
Yeah.
because kids are too busy watching TikTok. And it's like, this is one thing that really pisses me off. I'm going to go on a little rant here again. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, 3 hours of sleep
Yay.
makes
No,
me hyper.
go.
Well, no, it's a rant that Raltz and I have gone on several times. Why aren't parents watching their kids, what they're doing? Why do they let them be babysat by social media? Why? Steve and I made it very clear, like, Chris wasn't going to have social media till he was 18. Luckily, he doesn't like social media because he's seen how it zombified his friends. They literally, instead of going to each other's houses or going out to hang out, they get on Discord and watch TikTok. That's what the kids at his school do. Not all of them, but some of them. I'm like, what happened to the days where you'd hop on your bike, grab your friends, and disappear till the streetlights came on, and then you hauled ass back home? We
I
don't have
know
that anymore.
my brother, who he's a millennial. He has 3 kids, and each one of them have their own tablet. The oldest is 6, and
Ooh.
basically he just sits them on the couch, and they each have their own tablet, and they each watch their own little videos, and while he and his wife do other things.
See, that blows my mind, because we gave Chris a tablet too, but we gave a time limit. And then he would go in, and sometimes he didn't want to, he'd go days, weeks without playing on electronics because he wanted to build tanks and Legos, or he wanted to race his Hot Wheels. He always had something other, he would build shit out of his Connects. I don't know. I guess that's just the way we raised him. He actually does find computer boring after a while. Even now, as a teenager, he will play video games and then stop for a while and be like, "No, I need to read a book." Or I need to go for it. Today after school, he had energy and he didn't go and sit on his computer. He went and ran laps in the park. So, I mean, it's making me wonder, like, where did the disconnect come? Like, why all of a sudden, why is this different generation of parents not wanting to parent? I don't know if it's because that's how they were raised.
And I don't want to be like getting up on a soapbox or anything, but not monitoring what your kids are doing on the internet is how they get exposed
Yes.
to weird shit and weird people, and that is where trauma comes from, and that is how the world ends right there.
Well, you've heard that Roblox is also called pedo blocks, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Yeah.
pedos hide on Roblox and befriend as kids and then prey on them. Like, we don't Chris plays Roblox, or he used to, but he really doesn't now. And if he does, he goes into private servers him and his friends have built, and they vet each other and their friends before they let anybody in. I'm like, I'm cool with that. But yeah, I've heard Roblox called pedo blocks because a lot of pedos like that, the Roblox servers, and like to prey on kids there.
Yeah, it's enough to make you go crazy.
Yes, it is.
You gotta watch. You gotta watch what your kids are doing. I mean, you've always had to watch what your kids are doing to some extent, but it's really weird. In the mid '90s and late '90s, people went to schools and taught kids that anonymity was their most important thing. Never tell people what school you go to. Never tell what people town you're from. Don't describe yourself. And it's like every fucking millennial ran out and did exactly the opposite.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like, holy shit, oh, here I am entering my apartment at 395th 8th Street. And my door key code is 4327 because I'm clever. And why did someone rob my apartment? I don't fucking know.
Yeah, and people wonder why this is the generation with the highest rate of, molestation and mental illness and all this other horrible shit. It's because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, I it might not be the best thing that I've done, but I've made my child kind of paranoid about people. I feel that's for his safety. I know sometimes people will call that maybe helicoptering or coddling, but I've instilled in. I'm like, it's not like when your dad and I grew up. There's a lot more sickos and crazies out there that have a lot better access to you. I mean,
Mhm.
it freaks me out when I see a young girl walking home from school by herself, whereas I did that as a kid. But I'm like, this day and age, no.
And
She
what's
needs to be
what's
in a group.
awful is that in this day and age, if something were to happen, the person probably isn't even going to get arrested.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't care about the law or children or really anything. And I don't mean to sound like blackpilling. I really don't. But it can be really really disheartening, and it can make you want to turn away from everything, unplug, give up. But you really shouldn't. You should concentrate on real cultural change. And one of the big aspects of that is art.
Oh no, totally agree. I just I am worried about this latest generation. I shouldn't be though, because 50% of them seem to have their feet on the ground, their head out of the clouds, but the other 50% seem to have their feet in the clouds and their head on the ground. If you understand what I'm meaning.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, my
Dixie's
generation's
quote.
like that too.
I really think that it's well, how involved in their lives are their parents?
And are
I
their
think
parents both present? Like, do they? A lot of them don't even have both parents around.
Yeah, that's actually true too. I've noticed. Yeah, I'm glad that Steve and I have whatever problems that we had. That's something else that bothers me is like couples these days, if they have an argument or they have a disagreement or they can't compromise, automatic divorce. Like they don't even try anymore. You got to
Trying
try.
is hard. Trying is
I know.
hard.
It's easier to just divorce and go find somebody else new.
Surely
It
that won't have any kind of long-lasting effects on our children.
No, no.
no, I mean, think about how many kids that you've probably heard William say that, mom or dad is on their second or third spouse or significant other.
my dad had 4.
How did that affect you? And I'm not being facetious or like, or if I'm prying, I'll shut up.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, I brought it up. I mean, my mom was number 1. They divorced when I was 2, so I don't remember dad ever being home. Um, Wife number 2 was my brother's mom, and like freaking clockwork. This is it. My dad got divorced on like the ninth year for almost all of his marriages. So that ninth year rolled around. He found out that she was on drugs. In fact, had been on drugs while she was pregnant with my brother, and he kicked her out of the house. Um, and it's like, "Okay, dad, you're gonna take care of my brother. You're gonna, just, take care of things and just be with family." 2 months later, he meets wife number 3. It's like, I understand being lonely, but come on, dude, you really want to do this? Now, wife number 3, she was a good woman, but I don't know why that marriage fell apart, and I know I'm never gonna get a, straight answer, but, they divorced, and a year later, he marries wife number 4, who is the worst, worse than the druggie.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
saying something.
yeah. Basically, after 2 years, she moved back to her home state of, Oregon, and it wasn't until my dad was on his deathbed that they got divorced.
Wow.
Huh.
So
Well, your dad made the mistake of marrying someone from Oregon.
No,
Just teasing to those out there who are from Oregon. Well, certain parts of Oregon.
he made the mistake of marrying somebody who he knew had to drop out of high school for reasons, drugs being one of them.
I'll judge the drugs part, but I don't judge somebody for dropping out of high school. I dropped out of high school.
No, Joni was a total bitch. She never it pisses me off that she entered into his life and she did it solely for the purpose of taking his money. I'm gonna say that right up. Right. Yeah, she was a fucking gold digger and I fucking hate her.
I'm going to say, Raltz, your point about people dropping out of high school because you dropped out of high school isn't meant for everyone. And you know what? There's been a lot of people out there, even I know people who dropped out of high school and are really successful.
No, Joni dropped out because she was pregnant and on heroin.
Okay. Yeah. There's a difference. Some people need to
Yeah.
drop out because their parents suck. They need to get emancipated. They
No,
need to start working a job.
No, that's a good reason to drop out. That's a
Yeah.
good reason. You're still a productive member of society.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud, Raltz, you said
Yes,
that
you were busy.
You were a high school dropout, yet you are now a very successful author. So, I mean,
yeah, I dropped out because of problems with the school administration, having a job. It was the 80s. Fuck that school anyway.
100% agree.
I got in trouble. They're like, we're going to suspend you for the rest of the year and all of next year. I was like, okay. And we're also, and so you'll have to redo this year too. I was like, so I got to do. So I'm not going to graduate for 3 more years. I was like, I'm not going to graduate to almost 1990. And they were like, well, we're going to add an extra year because we looked over your grades and the school that you were going to at the beginning of freshman year can't find your records. So we're going to negate your freshman year. So you'll have to do 4 more years of high school after this year. I was
fuck them so hard.
I was like,
yeah, that's
bye.
People just trying to fuck with you.
I was like, goodbye.
Like, I don't need you.
As much as Tim Pool drives me batshit insane,
God.
he is a multi-millionaire who dropped out of high school. So,
well, I was only learning the same thing over and over and over. I mean, I realized it. I mean, starting in like 5th grade, your textbooks get to World War II, and then you never move on.
Nope, you never move on, and you skip World War I, or at least that was my school.
Beginning of the school year. Oh, we're gonna start with. Here's some shit that happened before America was founded. Here's the American Revolution. By the way, they were all white slave owners. Here's the War of 1812. I'm not going to tell you why it started, but LOL, the White House got burned down. Oh, here's the Civil War. And now we're going to do, here's World War I, but we're not going to tell you why it happened or what happened. And then, oh, here's World War II, which happened magically.
That would give you too much context to World War II.
Yeah. And then World War II, and then more World War II, and then more World War II, and then more World War II. And then we skip ahead to the Civil Rights era. Well, what happened in between? Nothing.
The Korean War did not exist.
And then, I know a girl that put up, but America was involved in Vietnam. Well, what would you know about Vietnam? My dad was killed in Vietnam. Well, that's not important. Civil rights are important.
Oh, shit.
So the girl went in the bathroom and cried. Because, it wasn't important.
They taught us World War II or World War I in high school. They didn't teach us what they just said that the Germans and the Austrians started the war. And then all they focused on was the diseases that men were getting in trench warfare and how the chlorine and mustard gas was eating off their faces. That was it. And then boom, just like Ralt said, World War II, World War II, World War II, more World War II. Oh my God, World War II.
You'll spend
I never even learned about World War II in high school.
You'll spend 2 months learning about the Holocaust.
I did learn that.
But if you ask who Rommel was, you don't find out.
But they teach you about Goebbels.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. They didn't teach the entire inner circle. I didn't find out about Rommel till after high school.
I
And then
don't mean to be like shameless self promotion, but my upcoming spy series is going to touch on all the little unexplored aspects of 20th century history, and I'm looking forward to doing all the research and sharing it with people because it's gonna be wild. He has a very non traditional way of looking at the world, and it's going to be reflected in how the series goes about looking at the history that we don't learn in school.
I will tell you that millennials and Gen Zers literally cannot grasp the 20th century in their heads. They literally cannot understand it.
No.
I
Oh,
love that when the Ukraine war, you start, oh, we're the first generation to live under the threat of nuclear war. Bitch, please. Remember that? Remember them sniveling that? I was like, bitch, please.
yes.
Yep.
When they were saying that nobody understood the horrors of living under the threat of a nuclear war, I died laughing. I was like, you dumb fucks have no idea. Every science fiction and horror film I watched was about post-apocalyptic nuclear America.
Khrushchev banging his shoe at the UN. Communism is the wave of the future. We will bury America. We'll take America without a shot. It's like, yeah, the way. Here's the wave. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, I'm going to say this too. The baby boomer generation, they had the Cuban Missile Crisis. So don't tell me about
Yeah.
the threat because I can remember my parents telling me doing nuke drills.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's a trip. You talk to them, you're like, yeah, nobody really gave a fuck. What? How could you not care? Because I'm gonna wake up tomorrow dead.
Yeah.
But you should care. No.
No. And by that point, I think
We're
for
past the
us,
point of Carrie.
Yeah.
we already accepted it. Like, there's a 50-50 chance I'm gonna, die in a glowing crater of nuclear fire.
Is
Oh
that
well.
why the boomers spent all their money? And like,
Yeah, it literally is
Pretty
because
much.
what
Yeah.
happened is we got it in our head that there wasn't going to be any tomorrow. You might as well live it up because there's no tomorrow. See, here's the thing. What a lot of people don't realize is Gen X and the boomers both, in their heads, there was this clock. And when it hit 1999 and we made it to the year 2000, we all blue screened to death and we've been trying to recover. We've been trying to do a system restore ever since. Because it literally blue screened to death us.
Mhm.
First the wall went down. Then the Soviet Union collapsed. Uh-oh. Windows has detected a problem. It has to shut down your computer. 1999 to 2000, blue screen of death.
I remember the panic from Y2K. I mean, everybody
Oh,
the
God.
Gen Xers and the boomers were like, okay, we have finally hit, like, the clock has struck midnight. We're all gonna die. And then the clock
Everybody
struck.
forgets that the clock during the Times Square thing flipped over to 1900. They showed it for like a second. Me and my older brother made so much money in 1999. We made buttloads of cash writing little shitty software, doing people's updates for Y2K, backing up everybody's shit. What was it? The company that produces the CMOS chips. I can't remember the name of it. It's been the same company as in like every fucking computer for the CMOS chips. Me and him would buy them by the bags of like 100. I redid all the computers for a cannery one time in about 4 days by swapping out the CMOS chips, and that's all we did. I did it for the sheriff's department. I did it for the fucking city hall. I did it for fucking my boss's house. I did it for everybody. And then they're like, "Oh, Y2K just never happened because it wasn't going to happen." And I hate it when millennials say that because it's like I should reach over and fucking smack you. There were fucking
I was 8 years old when Y2K was supposed to happen.
hundreds
I was
of
in bed
thousands.
before midnight. I have no idea.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people worked for months to keep it from happening. And then it's, it was just panic. There wasn't anything going to happen. And I've actually looked, do you know why the Y2K bug was going to happen? No. And you're going to tell me that it was all a bunch of bullshit? Well, yeah, because it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I should smack that fucking Funko Pop clean out of your fucking ass. And for those of you that don't know what the Y2K bug was, the initial CMOS chips, your initial chipset started at 1954. If you reset your clock, it didn't start 1900, it started at 1954. And it wasn't built to make it to the year 2000 because IBM and all these other companies thought, you'd replace your fucking computer. And because they went with the cheapest fucking chips possible, shitloads of computers, their chips went from 1954 to 1999. When it hit 1999, it aired out and reset to 1954 or 1900, which
Mhm.
would have caused huge fucking issues. I mean, there were DMVs around America that fucking they couldn't fucking print you out anything for like a month until their computers got updated. People got their insurance cards and it said their insurance was good from January 1st, 1900 to January 1st, 2001. So apparently they bought 101 years of insurance. But nothing ever happened. I'll fucking smack you in the fucking mouth. The easiest thing was a little firmware. It was just a little patch that just adjusted the date for you. But the big one was swapping out the chip or the motherboard. And it
Mhm.
wasn't a big fix. It didn't take long. But I mean, when you walk into an office building and they're like, I mean, when I did the cannery, I thought there'd be like one or two computers. Fuck, they had like 60 fucking desktops up there. And then they're like, can you back up all of our data? I'm like, sure. After how much data can a cannery have?
Mm.
Next thing I know, it's 3 weeks later, and I'm like, fuck me, just kill me. And I've got to download patches on a fucking 54.4 modem. No, that's right. I brought my modem.
Oh.
I pulled my modem out of my computer because it was a 54.4 instead of using their 12 by, what was it, 14.4 modem. I was like, man, fuck this shit. And yeah, people worked tirelessly for like 2 years. And now all you hear is, oh, Y2K was just a panic for no reason. I should smack, but but
I hate
the
to say
validity,
this, but most of my generation's memories start around 2009.
yeah, it's kind of funny. And it's like, well, why does Gen X not care? Well, it's really fucking hard to care when, you're told all of your life that you're going to die and nothing you do matters. Even the
When
teachers are like, oh, it doesn't matter in 100 years. Nobody will know who you were anyway.
That's such a
Wow.
that's such a
Thanks.
defeatist
like
mindset. Oh
thanks.
my gosh, no wonder nobody is successful.
Well, I remember all of like 99, there were all these
What?
commercials that
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
apocalyptic. Freaking Nike had a commercial where the world was just exploding all around this
And
runner
dude
as
was
he's going
outrunning
for a
it.
jog. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that was our lives, It's like, everything's going to shit and I'm just going to do my thing because I can't stop everything going to
Yep.
shit.
And like my wife said, they quit saying, "Oh, none of this matters in 100 years. Nobody will be where you are." So our generation quit doing their homework. You need to do your homework. Why? In 100 years, nobody's going to give a shit.
Mhm.
And that's
I
when
don't.
Gen X is the one that learned that school was a fucking scam.
Yep.
That school was a huge scam. I mean, homework. Why are you giving me homework? Well, to make sure you learn this.
Well, I'm
I
happy
have
to
a
say that
Why?
job.
as
I'm gonna be dead soon
I'm happy
anyway.
to say that I never give homework.
What, baby? Yeah. My wife. I learned this in the 4th grade. Now I'm in the 8th grade. Why I have to learn this shit again? Fuck. And it was
Do
the
you guys?
same.
We
I
have to
was
make sure that your personality has been properly rewritten.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Kat, do you remember? I think it was 98 or 99. And Ralt, I don't know if you were in California at this point, but Vandenberg had done a rocket test, and everybody thought the nukes were flying.
Yep, I
And I
remember that.
remember my friends were buying beer, like, let's go fucking party. The nukes are flying.
Well, the thing is I knew that test was gonna happen because my dad had a package on it, and so it's like, oh, cool, I'm seeing my dad's rocket go up. This is pretty awesome. And then like everyone around me is flipping their shit out.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
like,
flip out because my mom worked for General Dynamics. She's like looking around. She's like, it's just a fucking rocket test. Are you kidding me? Of course, my
yeah,
friends really thought we were about to burn up, so they were, calling up. We're gonna go to the tubes and drink beer and die. You want to join us? Like, no, man, I'm good.
Yeah, that was Gen X all the way. Yep, we're gonna die. The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades.
Right?
exactly.
And modern writers can't fucking get the sheer nihilism we felt.
No.
And modern writing, I read books. Oh, this character's Gen X, and he gives a shit about every little thing. I have never met a Gen Xer that can be asked to give a fuck about half the shit people care about. Oh, what about this? Like everybody's like, oh, Taylor Swift. Who the fuck is Taylor Swift? Oh, she's a singer. Then who fucking cares? She's a step above a prostitute.
Well, actually, that's one thing I like about William's books is that a lot of his characters have kind of that mentality. It's just them trying to fucking live to see tomorrow.
That's
Yeah,
probably why I
Yeah.
like
well,
the characters so
that's
much.
that's like a universal struggle that young people face is the desire to grow up normal.
Yeah.
And so many generations have been denied that ability through all these different horrible things that it's important you keep it alive even in fiction.
Oh yeah, and it's like what gets me about the boomers. We are going to do everything possible to make life as shitty as we can for everybody after us, because we weren't supposed to make it to the year 2000,
Nope.
so they didn't care. No, they could rob Peter all they want because Peter and Paul were going to be dead, so
What
they
about
could rob all
Mary?
the money and take it. What?
What about
No.
Mary? Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Mary gets to wear the slave collar and hoe beats.
You're right. They really did think that the world was going to end. So fuck it. Let's get all the
Fuck it.
resources, blow
If
all of
it
our money.
feels good, do it, man. I
Well,
had to smack
Oh,
you.
their
I
peak celebration was in the 80s. I mean, there's a reason it's called the Decade of Decadence. They were too busy getting blowjobs and snorting coke.
I remember again in '99 how many people who were just racking up their credit card debt because they
Yes,
figured that everything would zero out at the new year, and then they were absolutely floored when that didn't happen. It's like, you're really going to tell me banks aren't going to be the first ones to
they were the
upgrade?
first. I mean, they didn't do the I'll replace a chip. They did the I'll buy whole new computers.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember, banks rely on time and computers so much. I knew somebody that worked for a bank in IT, and he managed to cut down on the time it took to process things across the internet by, I think it was something like 2/1000ths of a second. He got $1 million bonus.
Whoa.
Damn.
That's how much 2/1000ths of a second make to the banking industry. Because how many of you remember swiping your card and punching in the number, and then you wait for this troll to wake up and slowly carry your money over and fight other trolls, and and cross Newmandor and Mordor, and then finally get to the bank and wake up the goblin, and then slowly walk back. Meanwhile, we're practically dating the cashier now, and then it beeps and goes, "Carrier signal lost," and you're like, "Son of a bitch! I'll just pay with cash." God, the fucking credit cards were so fucking slow back in the day. How many
It
of you
was
remember?
easier to write a check.
How many of you remember handing your credit card to the woman, and she puts it in the metal machine and goes chunk and gives you one of the copies?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yes, I
Yeah,
remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
No, I don't.
and then they take those up to the payment office, and this woman would work from closing till like midnight, punching in numbers into a file and then transmitting it, and trying and she had to transmit it 3 times, and she had to get the same CRC number back every time. And that's how your credit cards were processed back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
Tell
fucking
me more
tedious.
stories, Granddad.
Yeah, no shit. God, I'm old.
Well, that's why
Did
it
you know?
said that, it was easier to write a
Yeah.
check than use a credit card back in the day.
How
Mhm.
many of you have done this? You open your checkbook, find out you don't have any checks, so you look at the cashier and say, "Can I get a store check?" And they hand you a check with the store's name on it, and you put in your routing number and account number.
Mhm.
I don't even know
Uh,
I've never even had a checkbook.
You've
Oh
never
my
had a
gosh.
checkbook?
No.
Youngin! He's a
Oh.
youngin!
Jesus, he's young. Get him.
God, I still have a checkbook. Yeah, it's been a while since I've used it, but I
I've
got one.
got
Yeah,
one
we still have a checkbook
somewhere.
too,
It's
just in
somewhere.
case.
Yep. That's like, my daughter, "Why do you always carry money in your wallet?" Well, what if the fucking ATMs don't work or the fucking internet's down and you can't, pay for anything at the register?
Oh,
Blue screen. There's the dial tone. Brrr.
a cat. I'm sure you'll remember this too. Do you remember it was like 2015, 2016 when the entire grid for Southern California failed?
Oh yeah,
And
I
it was
remember that.
it was in September, and it was the hottest time of summer, right before fall would hit. The lights were out all across Southern California, and people were shitting their pants because they did not have cash on them. And
Mhm.
Steve and I would always carry some cash with us because we can, you always want to make sure. But we were able to go get ice for our food and everything and, get water and what we needed because they said they thought that the lights were going to be out for a few days. And people were panicking because so many people had just moved completely to digital. It's like, no, you always need to have cash on you no matter what.
Mhm.
It's like
Because even
go
oh,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
sorry.
I
I was
was
going to
just
say
gonna say, even if you are fully digital, if a crisis like that happens, they will take cash.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I love it. These wise old millennials are like, "How are you going to make it if you don't have any power?" And it's like, dude, I lived at a time when the power went out in the winter for weeks at a time, and the power went out in the summer for like a week or so, and you literally just survived. I mean, you just didn't worry about it. I mean, it was just one of those things. The power would go out in the winter, and you use the wood stove, and there's snow on the ground, and you're like, man, this sucks. And you go to school, and the school's using the coal burning furnace, and there's no fucking lights, and they've got the battery powered shit up there, and you're like, any second Laura Ingalls is going to walk in the door, you know. And people are like, well,
Oh.
how will you survive? And it's like pretty fucking easy. I mean, it's not that fucking hard. They act like if the electricity goes out, everybody's just going to vanish in a puff of smoke. And it's like, no, I got
Th-
enough food here for 90 days. I'm pretty sure I'll be okay. But you won't be able to access the internet.
So,
Thank
Okay.
There's
God.
plenty of other things to do.
People won't
God,
be able to get a hold of you on your cell phone. Oh, no. Stop. Don't.
that is one thing I miss about my house in Inglewood because it was old enough to still have an ice box built into the wall. So when the power did go out, it was like, okay, just shove everything into the built-in ice box. It was perfect. We also had a fireplace, so it's like, okay, I'm just so the heater can't come on. I'm lighting a fire in the fireplace. I love that place. It's like I
I,
miss that.
I like what Undead said 'cause I was gonna say it's weird to hear people say, "How are you gonna function without an air conditioner?" And I laugh because air conditioning did not become a big thing in homes till the late 90s.
Yeah.
It was if you didn't have an air conditioner, it was called the local pond, river, the local swimming pool,
I
the
have a mall
sprinklers.
within walking distance.
Or a
Yeah.
mall within walking distance, yeah. I don't know how many times my friends and I would our parents would turn on the sprinklers in the front yard and be
Mhm.
running around in the front yard. There was no air conditioning, or we'd go jump in the pool. Hell, I mean, like, okay, yeah, you can function without an air conditioner. No, but Undead makes a point. In Miami, I would never want to live that. I'm sorry.
No.
Fuck that.
God, I didn't have air conditioning until 97 when I moved to Orange County. It's like, yeah, I can survive without AC. Now, in my current state, I really wouldn't want to survive without AC, but I can.
Oh God, I hated visiting my great grandmother. Not because I hated visiting her, but because her house was so old in Phoenix that she had a fucking swamp cooler. There was no AC. And I always went in August when it was like peak summer heat. Just the
Oh,
fucking, I wouldn't sleep. There were days that I just wouldn't sleep. It just like, that zombie, that heat zombie look that you get. And you're just like, I can't function. I mean, my grandfather fed me cornflakes with vanilla ice cream because it was so fucking hot. The only way to get me to eat was to put a scoop of vanilla ice cream in my cornflakes bowl. So it's like, it's too hot to eat, Grandpa.
Oh man, I used to love summer because I've said before I lived on a trailer in the middle of a fucking field surrounded by trees. And I come home, my girlfriend would be out there topless, fucking hanging up the laundry. I just sit in the truck and watch.
oh.
I was like, I can sit here all day.
It's really peak America when you think about it.
Yeah, it really was. 15 years old, sitting in my pickup truck, watching my girlfriend hang the laundry, topless. Be like,
Like,
life is good.
yep, this is the life.
Yeah, I tease my wife to this day about the fact that one of the things I love being about living in Texas is she was all sweaty. I just sit and stare at her. She's like, "What are you looking at?" Nothing. How are you going to live without air conditioning? Oh, I don't know.
I'll manage.
People have been doing it for thousands of years. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they
I
act like
honestly,
if
I
you
would be
get
more worried about not having a heat source, in my
yeah.
opinion. I think you need a heat source over an AC source any day of the week.
I mean, one of my daughters was like, and apparently my basement has a murder room. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah. It's this little room with a door, and there's like a chute outside that I guess you dump the body into. And I was like, it's a coal room.
I mean, any room can be a murder room if you try hard
Yeah.
enough.
But it's like you put the coal in the chute and you dump it in the room so you can stoke the furnace. Oh.
Blank stare. It's like, oh.
She was like, no, I get it. But of course, when we had to replace her furnace, it worked, but I took one look at the data plate, right? I was over at her house. I said, let me see the data plate. She's like, well, it works, They think they can get a part I need to make it work a little better. And I opened up the data plate. I scrubbed the fucking green shit off the data plate and look at it. The furnace was made in 1972 and installed in 1973. I'm like,
Ooh.
people don't have cars this old. People don't have houses this old. No, we'll be getting you a new furnace.
Anytime somebody mentions furnace, I think of A Christmas Story when the dad would go battle the furnace when it would just go batshit.
My mother watches that movie every year, and she always says that is literally what her childhood was like, and literally what her father was like.
I love
It's
that
just
movie.
a generational thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That movie and Christmas Vacation, since it is the holidays, yeah, Christmas Vacation, I literally had Christmases like that. I am not joking. I mean, we did have one where the dog puked under the table. I mean, all of it, yeah. We had a year where the turkey got dried out. We didn't have a cat light the house on fire or die. But yes, the dog puking under the table, because we always told people don't feed the dog. And then you'd hear,
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck, dude, somebody fed the dog under the table.
A dog can eat anything right up until they throw it up where your shoes go.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You're just hoping it's not by you.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, man, you got to clean that up. It's right next to your shoes, not mine. I'm going to sit here and eat my pumpkin pie.
Man, it really shows in writing, though, because a lot of these people cannot put themselves in the. Oh, there is something that is writing that I fucking hate nowadays. The bad guy is more relatable than the hero.
Oh,
I mean,
dear God.
I read a book recently, and I read the whole thing, and I was like, well, this is a really cool book about the villain, but when do I get to meet the hero?
There is no such thing as a hero in modern books. Well, I'm sorry, modern mainstream books. Indie writers, they actually still do have villains and heroes, which I am so thankful for, because I am so tired of seeing villains being just misunderstood people. Oh, yes, I'm a psychopathic child killer, but I had a hard life. And people hurt my feelings when I was in high school, and I got bullied a lot. And my mom didn't buy me that Hot Wheels set that I wanted, even though it meant so much to me. It just, life has been so unfair, and everybody hurts my feelings. So, I had to teach the world a lesson. No, fuck that. No, just no. I can't
Oh,
do that
Janelle,
shit anymore.
you're gonna love Cerulean Flare. The villain is literally the worst.
Excellent. I mean, I understand.
Looking forward.
Yeah, I will say, I understand you can have a villain that you have some empathy for. There's been plenty of great villain stories. Darth Vader is a great example. And even throughout any stories, even going back like all the way to like the Egyptians, the Greeks, you name it, their evil gods had some sympathy. I mean, look at Loki, for fuck's sake. Though he wasn't really a villain, he was just more of the trickster god. But when he went and made sweet, sweet love to that frost giant, all his kids came out weird. He had Fenrir, the wolf. I can never remember how to pronounce the world serpent's name.
Oh, Jormungandr.
Yeah,
I know that
and then
because
Hel.
I know that
his
because the
daughter Hel.
serpent in There's a serpent in cerulean flare, and I had to give it a name. And
so you named it after the serpent that surrounds the world tree.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And then his daughter Hell is half a zombie. So
Yeah.
I mean, and then they tortured his children. Yes.
Yeah.
They were making fun of that kind of villain in that movie. What was great though is that they actually did have sympathy for her. They would have accepted her as part of the family if she wasn't a gold digger.
That was one of the great parts about it.
I'm gonna say I know people like the first one better than the second one, but I think the second one is very underrated.
Oh,
There's
I agree with you for sure.
so many parts of the second one I think are better than the first one. I mean, adding Debbie Jelinski as the villain was great because she wasn't even really the villain. She was just like them, except she liked pastels.
Raltz, I don't know if you saw the screen. Ramen brought up Adam's Family Values.
Oh. Yeah. Now, the Addams Family, it's like everybody wants their villains to be the Addams Family. And you know what? Just give me hey, you're okay, Pancake. You're okay, puppy. She's having a nightmare. Anyway, but I want villains back like Sauron, okay? And that's one of the things I hate about the Rings of Power. Sauron doesn't need any more motive than I want to take over the world, LOL.
You know,
Yeah.
I hate to be.
Oh, that's what he was, I thought.
You know, I'm one of those people that's always sticking up for Harry Potter, despite myself. Voldemort is a great villain because not once, like, is he ever been like, oh well, you know, maybe if things had been a little different. No, he is just a bastard, and he loves it.
Yeah. And then nobody makes excuses for it. Well, he was abused as a child. Well, so was Harry.
Yeah, exactly. And even if he was abused as a child, he doesn't like. You mean like it's so out of proportion that it becomes cartoonish, and that's why I think he's a great villain personally.
There's so many parts of Harry Potter that I do like, but then there's so many parts I can't.
Most of what I don't like are the other people who like it.
Yeah. And the books themselves were great books.
It's the fan base I didn't like.
The fan base killed it for me. It really did.
And you know what else really killed? You know what else really killed it for me? You know, and you have people, oh, it's full of plot holes and blah blah blah. It's like she's not writing Lord of the Rings. She's writing the little carrot seed. Fuck off. I mean, everything has to absolutely, you know, not have a single plot hole. It's like, hello, have you met life? You know, life's got plenty of plot holes, but it's just ridiculous because everybody's like, oh, you know, oh, it's when you read it. When I was 25 when I read it, and I could see all the problems in it. Well, no shit. Congratulations. Now you're gonna tell me that vegetables don't actually speak, and that's why you can't watch VeggieTales. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, hey, Wolf made a really good point. A very good villain is Scar from The Lion King.
Yeah.
That is a great villain. No sympathy, but charismatic. Of course, that you can account that to Jeremy Irons being Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
But that is, I love The Lion King. Some people like mock me for it, but I'm like, no, that was a good hero's journey with a damn good villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frollo. Frollo's a great example.
Frollo's great.
A really good one. Both in the book and in the cute movie.
Yeah, because a lot of people forget that he was about to huck fucking Quasimodo into the well. You know, thus poisoning Paris's water. But you know, don't throw babies in wells because it poisons the well. But yeah, I mean, villains. I mean, somebody just mentioned unrepentant villainy. You know, where was it? Villains don't get to acknowledge or accept their villainy anymore. You know, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, are you gonna redeem D?" No. Well,
wait,
why not?
D's the devil, right?
Yeah, D's the devil. And she's like,
"Won't you have that?"
Yeah, she's not have sympathy for me. She's like, I'm evil. Yeah, what's your point? Look, weakling. And you don't see that often. I mean, people were surprised that we went through 1,000 chapters, and with like 700 of them, D was, you know, she existed, and I never redeemed her. She became the devil.
You have 700 chapters?
Try 1,000.
Wow.
The first series is done at 1,028 chapters. Dark Ages, which is the bridge between Behold Humanity and Nova Wars, is sitting at about 50 chapters.
Any
So
plans on like an omnibus or something so I can get all caught up?
fuck, you know how big an omnibus would be?
Dude,
I mean,
Ralts,
each
you
well,
could
you're
book.
on
hire
what?
somebody to write an omnibus or at least an encyclopedia, a companion to your series. You're gonna need it. I
It's
know.
every book is 135 is roughly 135,000 words, and I wrote 3 million words in 3 years.
Wow.
So
Mm.
Ralts is basically the writing equivalent of a mentat.
Yes,
Mm.
It's
yes,
like
he
this
is.
computer that
It
goes.
is by will alone.
Yes,
I
it
wrote
is.
I
My
wrote
will alone. I set my mind in motion.
I wrote 4,000 words today.
No, I just remember we were doing a show and we're hearing you clackety clack. And, originally I thought you were just like, responding to people or whatever. And it's like, so what you doing there, Ralt? It's like, oh, I'm writing. It's
Yeah,
like, while you're on the show?
That's
yeah,
the spirit.
holding the conversation and everything.
Yep.
That was, well, I will say the very last chapter. Like, I can spoil the last 2 chapters for everybody. The
Oh, is it
next to
done?
last chapter says dash dash dash, nothing follows dash dash dash, and the very last chapter says, and then one day, for no particular reason at all, a bag opened, and the universe made that everyone's problem. You know, people ask me nowadays. Ishi told me I should figure out a line to sum up my series. It's like, yeah, I'm going to sum up 3 million words. But I figured out one thing, a way to sum up the entire series. 30,000, wait, not 30. Well, in ancient history, a human picked up a rock and threw it at a gazelle, and the universe made that everyone's problem.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
It's off the meme. A human picks up a rock and dashes out a gazelle's brain. Fuck your evolutionary arms race. This is my planet now.
Ralts, I'm looking at some of your covers. They're very good.
Oh, I love my cover artist.
Yeah.
He's absolutely amazing. I mean, and every one of those scenes is in the book.
Oh, that's nice. Doing one better than me then.
Do
Well,
you
I
need
feel like that's important.
assistance? Do you need assistance is still my favorite cover.
The Do You Need Assistance is the
The
first one.
Atlantic Talon in the mechs when they're
Yes.
yeah, I don't want to spoil too much if people haven't read it, but yeah, just like
He
I
was
love that.
he was a bad Atlantic Talon.
Yeah. The whole scene where his uncle shows up to regulate his bad behavior and the guy is having a panic attack because the main character is acting like a bad Atlantic Talon. You could feel the guy sweating and tensing and freaking out. It was wonderful.
I like the one where he goes where the high powered corporate executive goes to the mech bash and he's in there drinking and throwing fists like a primitive.
Oh, that's the same one where he turns around and gets a blowjob from a female Atlantic Talon. He's like, what the fuck?
He's like, what is going on here?
These sound busy.
Oh, these books are hysterical, and I mean them in a good way. They have very serious combat, and then Ralts turns right around and shatters the tension by having something absolutely fucking ridiculous happen in the best way possible.
And it is not Marvel quips. For example, I broke tension in a scene by the whole Confederate line is under attack. And the line is, everyone get to the mech, some helpful dipshit yelled. Because why are you yelling that? That's what we're doing. It's when you write your villains, you got to make your villains good. You got to make your heroes fun too, because I am so tired of heroes that frankly are the worst fucking people. I mean, oh my God, they're fucking terrible people. They don't have a single fucking redeeming thing about them. I mean, not one redeeming thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to heroes that are maybe not always morally upstanding, but who are trying really hard to be a hero and make a difference. But the characters that we have today they're not that. They're the opposite. They're heroes who are trying to be the worst.
I think it's also a lot of these writers today really have emulated themselves after the villains, so the heroes actually need to be the bad guys, and that's what you see now. The heroes are the bad guys. They're just as bad and morally corrupt as the villains, but they see the villains as heroes because they relate to the villains, which in hindsight, that's kind of scary that we have a bunch of writers who relate to the villains than the heroes.
Well, how many times have you read something where you're plodding along and you suddenly realize I'm reading the villain and the writer doesn't know that their character is evil? And that happens too many times.
I
Like it's a minor thing, but like I'm not Starfire.
Oh
She's a
my
villain.
fucking Christ, she's the villain. She is the villain. I felt
Yeah.
sorry for her mother. You should have aborted that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like I'm reading the villain of this story and she doesn't know it.
No, I'm gonna say a lot of female young adult authors, not all, but the
Most.
majority I have seen are fucking villainous. They're horrible, selfish people that want other people to suffer. They're miserable. You know, I'm sorry if you got bullied. I was hella bullied from elementary school to high school. I mean, straight up bullied because I was the weird kid. But I didn't turn into the villain. I just became a bitch. You know?
That Starfire thing really sums something up. They
Mhm.
I read that, and I watched your guys' take on it. And when she finally gets her powers, does she want to be a hero like her mother? Does she want to be a hero like Dick Grayson? Does she want to better the world? No, she wants to be known as Mandy the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Well, she also gets along with her psychotic aunt who, sold her mother into sex slavery and took her throne. So yeah, really, really a winner there.
Yeah.
Mandy the Destroyer. I forgot about Mandy the Destroyer. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
you
that's
get
when you need Superman to just like long range fucking snipe her in the head from 3 planets away.
Mhm.
But
Something
that's just it. Well, you give a lot of modern characters vast power, and they don't go, how can I make things better? It's like this Superman comic my daughter loves. This guy invents a jetpack and starts robbing banks, and Superman grabs him and goes, "Number one, let's talk about a few things. Number one, you were going to rob banks in Metropolis where I am, and your power is a jetpack." The guy's like, "Yes." Number two, you invented a jetpack and are now robbing banks. Well, I don't have any money. You invented a jetpack. What's wrong with you? you know,
Exactly.
most of these characters, when given power, act like Sauron out of Spider-Man, where Spider-Man goes, "You can cure cancer," and Sauron goes, "I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs."
And that's what it is. Is that if you give these people want to think that if they were given power, they'd be Spider-Man, but in reality, if they were given power, they'd be the villain. They'd be evil because
Yeah.
they just have nasty personalities. And I personally think that's one of the reasons why most of these writers that are active in the mainstream live and die in pretty abject poverty. They are fundamentally unlikable.
Well, what gets me is, I've talked to a few. I've talked to a few, I've talked to a few people who were published traditionally, and I love, somebody was, somebody was fucking with me on Twitter, one of these mainstream writers, and I pissed them off so bad they fucking blocked me and reported me because they're like, "I have a writing contract, and you're just an indie writer." And I was like, "Well, have you paid off your advance yet?" And they're like, "Well, no." And I was like, "Did you know your advance collects interest?" Well, yeah. I was like, "Well, when somebody buys my book, I get a quarter. What do you get?" Nothing. And they don't get this, and they don't and then when they interact with people, God, so many
It's a
of
pretty
these
ugly and
people,
out of date system, so it's no wonder it
yeah,
makes people so miserable.
and they're so nasty to people.
Mm.
And I don't get it. They're just so fucking mean and somebody's like, "Oh, I like your book." "Oh, go fuck yourself." It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm what you might call like a lifelong fan of Ron Mars, and I'm pretty sure Ron Mars would like set me on fire and kick me in a ditch if he could get away with it.
I'm a lifelong fan of Mickey Spillane, and I'm pretty sure, if I'd met him when he was younger, he'd probably just sit and drink beer with me and talk shit.
Mm.
If you're an aspiring writer and you're listening to this, you could do worse than take advice from Mickey Spillane. because when asked what he thought about what reviewers wrote about his books, he said the only thing I read are my residual checks.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Mickey's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. You know, there was another famous writer that called his work bar peanuts, and a reporter asked him what he thought of that, and he goes, "Well, you can tell him that not very many people eat caviar, but everybody eats peanuts at the bar."
Mm.
So you could do worse than having Mickey Spillane as your writing. You know, don't worry what the critics say, worry what the paycheck says.
If we could go back just for a quick second to talk about the writing of villains and sympathize. I wanted to point this out real quick. So I'm gonna go real nerd here. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. You're
I
in good
read
company.
the Night Lords omnibus for Warhammer 40K. If you don't know who the Night Lords are, they are a Chaos Marine faction that are made up of rapists and serial killers, and they are known for flaying people alive and wearing their skin on their armor. So I'm reading the omnibus, and I'll tell you what, this is one of the best ways I've seen villains written. They're on the run. They have no supplies. They have slaves, but they are celebrating that the first human slave was born on their ship, but that human child gets killed by a loyalist Marine when they invade their ship. They're tired, they're hungry, they're losing. You start feeling sympathy for them, and you forget that these are serial killers and rapists until the third book, when the author turns right around, slaps you in the face, and the entire third and final book, they go on a rampage, torturing and killing children, flaying people alive, and bathing in their blood and cannibalizing them. That is one of the best stories I've ever read of showing how to write a villain, because it tricked you. You actually start feeling sorry for these motherfuckers. And then the third book is like, nope, oh yeah, they're still Night Lords, all right. And that is something I miss. That whole entire book series was from the point of view of villains, and not just any villain. We're talking the worst of the worst.
Wow. I'll have to read that. That sounds interesting.
Oh, it's good. I mean, I'm a sicko. They're one of my favorite factions. I love the Night Lords. They're horrible, horrible people.
I've always been kind of a salamander guy, but I'll definitely try that.
Oh my god, that's their arch enemies. We can't be
Oh.
friends anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. You know, my Warhammer knowledge is almost worse than my D&D knowledge. I just like the fact that they're green and on fire.
My
I like
Warhammer
the
knowledge
salamanders because they're so tanky.
my Warhammer knowledge starts and stops with what I've learned from the video games. So
Yeah, but you put Warhammer in your books. I know,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't get in trouble. You called it Battle Hammer, but I knew fucking exactly what
That's
you were
a good
doing.
one.
That was
Yeah.
Space Marine #1 when they were fighting the orcs in the video game. The Ultramarines versus the orcs.
Instead of, you know, buying a video game and buying models, you pay to buy clone licenses to run off a couple 100,000 guys and then watch them fight.
When they come across the planet, they see the Ultramarines fighting the Greenskins, and they're like, what the fuck is going on?
Hey, this is a sanctioned game. Get out of here.
It was great. Oh my god, I actually read that chapter twice because I was so tickled pink. I'm like, Ralph's put Warhammer in his book. He's my hero.
Oh, you know, if you're gonna do pop culture, do it right.
Now, I will say, all in all, my favorite faction are the Necroms. I'm sorry. I love the Egyptian old men who are like, get off my fucking lawn. We were here first.
Yeah.
Best faction ever.
Oh,
I
shit.
agree.
Their powers are they control space-time. Space-time metallic Egyptian mummies that are just grumpy as fuck.
That does sound pretty cool.
I wanted to say I put an ad for your book in the back of mine, so I hope you saw a few extra sales. I had a couple people that said they bought, not very many, like less than 10 people said they bought it because they saw the ad in the back of my book.
You know, Ralds, judging by like your personality, I think we're gonna have a lot of overlap between your books and VCW. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, because it was like coming soon. Because yeah, you were in the ad was in the last book, and I'll put another one in. I'll put another one in if you want to give me an updated one, because the next book should be out late this month, early next month.
Wow.
Well, the rough drafts are all written. I'm just waiting on the edits to be done and the covers to be done, and then out the door they go.
Oof.
Because I've only got another 15 books to put out.
And I was being so quaint earlier in the show, like, oh, this is my first year that's gonna have 2 books coming out. You're like,
Oh,
all right,
God.
15 later.
Yeah, I've got. There's a second series called Tales of the Terran Confederacy, and it says right in the page description, so nobody makes any mistake. What it was I took plot lines involving certain characters and just condensed them into one book. So that if you had a favorite character, you didn't have to go through like 8 or 9 books to read about him. You could just be like,
I
I want to
kind of
read.
like that.
I want to read about fucking with everybody. So, which
Yeah, 'cause a lot of the times in like those big space epics, I find like one person that I latch onto, and then I have to go through like 70, 80 pages where they don't show up.
oh, it's worse than this. You might have to go through 70 or 80 chapters.
Ooh boy.
Because Samuel L. ends up so important, he's actually on the cover of book 8.
That's my homeboy. I love him so much. Him and Twinkle.
Hey, kitty.
I love
yes.
Twinkle.
Samuel L. ends up being critical to the series. And I don't want to spoil it for you.
Oh, don't, because I remember I only got to book 2 and then I had to stop, and not because I didn't want to. I got busy. I said I've got a stack I'm trying to get through. But I mean, I fell in love with Samuel after the chapter where he needed a emotional support kitty. After
because of the message torpedo, yeah.
Yeah, and just when you like describe that the virtual soft paw touches him for help, like or help. I'm not joking, Ralts. I had tears well up. I was like, oh God, the war kitty's gonna die.
I get a lot of that. And I've noticed something. A lot. I was actually talking to somebody who, they're convinced they're going to be, the next big thing, and they were like, "Well, I try not to make my readers feel too much because that's uncomfortable to the reader."
What? No. You want to make them feel too
Yeah.
much. You want to
No.
like. That's the whole point.
No, you want that. I mean, that's how you stick in people's minds, and then they
Yeah.
talk about you to like everybody for the next 20 years.
Yeah. That's like a lot of people don't realize there's a scene in there that is such an homage. I actually had to, when I did the book, I actually mentioned it was an homage. I was like, I'm not even sorry. But there's a scene where if you read My Camera, you know this scene. The baby finally manages to stand up and reach out and grab the pistol, and it's been after the pistol for the whole fucking storyline, and it goes off and shoots the bad guy in the face. And so many people are like, "Oh my God, this is such bad plot armor." And I'm like, you realize I stole this from Mickey Spillane, right? It's the end of one of the My Camera books, and people are like, "The what now?"
Ugh.
But yeah, it's an homage to Mickey Spillane. I don't think it's I the Jury. I can't remember which one it is. But yeah, the whole book, the baby's trying to grab the gun, and old Mike gets clubbed in the fucking head and dropped on the floor, and the bad guy stands there. Instead of shooting Mike like he should have done, he stands there talking shit, and the baby finally grabs the 45 and it goes off.
Wow.
And shoots the guy in the face. So that was an homage to My Camera.
That's cool.
Very
I didn't
interesting.
know that.
Well, I figure if I'm gonna steal, I'm stealing from the best, and I'm stealing everything.
And that's what, if you're gonna do it, yeah, steal from the best, totally, and be honest about it, because
Hey,
you're
Robert.
not.
I was gonna say. Oh, I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say one more thing real quick. Janelle, one of the audios that I sent to you, Spare Parts, that's one of those stories that has stuck with me ever since I first heard it in like 2002, 2003. Because there's a scene in there where I just had to stop everything I was doing with my jaw dropped because it's so gut-wrenching. So yeah, that's why I sent it to you, because I knew you'd love it.
That's actually my weekend. Popping that on. I'm gonna go outside and clear out my garden of all the dead stuff.
Fuck that! This weekend it's gonna be 26 degrees.
Well, here
you
it's
got
gonna
a
be
storm
80.
coming.
We're having a tropical storm roll in this weekend. Woohoo! 80 degrees. Y'all can
Meanwhile,
hate
I'm
me.
freezing my ass off.
Where
Coming
are
out
you,
this
Walt?
way.
Midwest.
Oh, okay.
center of the Midwest. So when it's cold, it's you know what? Get off my lap if you're gonna bite me. But sorry, cat. It's a kitten. She's not even a year old. So I want
Oh,
pet. No, I want to bite you. Get off my lap.
nice kitty.
Yeah,
I
but
love you. Let me scratch you so you can bleed to death.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. But I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, yeah, I'm in the middle of the Midwest where it gets nice and cold. We have seasons here. Yeah,
Lucky you.
it was 110 degrees in August, and then like the day after Thanksgiving, it snows a foot and a half. No, that is my foot, not something for you to attack. Go outside and chase mice or something. Shit.
It's too fucking cold.
Go fight that squirrel. I hate that fucking squirrel. The squirrels are amazingly resilient. You can hit them with a 2x4 and knock them all the way across the yard and they just run away.
Well,
Have
they
you
are
seen
made to
those?
fall out of trees.
You've seen those YouTube videos where people set up like mazes for them to get walnuts, and you watch how they like fall from like huge drops, and they put their arms out and just their folds of skin turn them into parachutes as they drop down. Not even the
Mhm.
flying squirrels; these are just regular squirrels.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen it.
we got tons. I got tons of squirrels because I got woods next to my house. They're so fucking annoying. And there was this one that kept getting in the garbage and kept getting in the garbage and kept getting in the garbage. And so finally I went out there and it would look, and the thing is, this fucker would sit up and look at me and chitter like it was yelling at me. I was like, next time I see you, I'm hitting you with a 2x4. It chitters at me. And if I can come out like 2 days later, it's fucking rooting through my garbage. I was like, okay, that's it. Got a 2x4, walked up, and it looks at me like, what are you gonna do? That fucker looked shocked when I smacked it with a 2x4. Get the fuck out of here.
Batter up.
Well, he's never been back. Now he just sits on the roof of the garage and yells at me.
Oh,
Fucking thing. And I know it's the same one because he's got this weird horizontal white streak over his eyes instead of along his body.
I was gonna
Was
say
he like
he
Stripe from Gremlins?
Pretty much.
yeah.
And he's big too.
I need to watch that soon. That's a Christmas movie.
Yes, it
Gremlins.
is.
That is one of the best Christmas movies ever made.
I've actually never seen it. I love Gremlins too, but I've never seen the first one.
Oh, Gremlins too.
Oh.
Gremlins, the whole series. I love Gremlins. It's
Oh my gosh,
near and dear to
Gremlins
my
1
heart.
is great.
I gotta say that Christmas shows me that some parents are absolute fucking assholes. Because my granddaughter comes over and my wife's like, "What do you want Santa to bring you?" And my daughter goes, "Oh, Santa's not real. My friend told me that her mom and dad said that Santa's not real." And to
Fuck
tell
Tell her
those
that
everybody.
her friend's a
parents.
And to
liar.
tell everybody. My daughter's like, "Well, you can tell your friend that her parents drink too much."
Okay, this is a trend that has bothered me for a very long time. There is a group of parents that feel that lying to your child is the ultimate sin. And so they never celebrate with Santa, the Easter Bunny, the
Nope.
Tooth Fairy, whatever. But then they do what you just said. They tell their kids, "Oh, your friend's parents are wrong and they're bad people for lying. Go tell them the truth." It's like,
Yeah.
thank you. And then a bunch of kids get traumatized. Okay, when I found out that Santa and Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy weren't real, I was upset for a day, and then I got over it because you know what? The holidays are still fun, and that was something fun to do.
My
But
youngest.
now, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. But now, go ahead.
Oh, but now you just like there's these parents that it's this whole same thing where we got to bubble wrap our kids and
Yeah.
helicopter and all that shit. And so they've taken away the fun, the magic of Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and all that. And it's just like, why? I'm sorry that you were so fucking miserable that you
That's
have
just
to
it.
make children miserable.
Those
They-
parents love to. Those parents are like, "Oh, you're lying to your kids the worst," until it's time to admit that she's been cheating on dad or whatever.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
When my youngest daughter was 16, and I told the kids, my oldest daughter was living back at home because everything went to hell on her, and that's funny. I opened the door at fucking 11 o'clock at night and it's raining. She's standing on the front porch with the baby. Can I come home? Yes, come inside. But they went to bed, and We did it like we usually, before Christmas there's like 3 or 4 presents under the tree, and then Christmas morning there's a ton of presents, and I had this old model train that I would set up so it went around the tree and through the presents, and the front room would be decorated, and the windows would have the fake snow put on them and all that stuff, and there'd be cookies out, and I'm sitting there the next day, Christmas Day, and my daughter leans over and goes, "I haven't believed in Santa in a while. You don't have to keep doing this." And I looked at her and I went, "Who said I'm doing it for you?" And she sat there for a second. She goes, "Well, that's why I didn't want to tell you that I didn't believe in Santa anymore, because you enjoyed this so much." And I do. I really do. A lot of parents forget it's not just about the child, it's also about you. It's what it is they can't give their children or anybody else a gift without jumping up and down and yelling, "Look at me. Look at me. Aren't I great?"
Yeah.
And yeah, I do that here. Well, actually, I go across the street and help my son-in-law do it. We fucking set up the tree, put out. I mean, shit, my granddaughter's making out like a bandit, and we decorate up the house and we put the train out and everything else. And it doesn't matter that she doesn't believe in Santa anymore. She gets to come down and she gets to see that magical moment where the night before it was a tree and some presents and a few decorations, and she comes downstairs and boom, it's straight out of a Hallmark movie. And yes, will I admit that when we were really poor, their toys would be like from the dollar bin? Yeah, the wrapping cost more than the toys, but it was the thought that counted, because this is the one time in the year when it's all about them. It's all about them. Every other day of the year, it's it's not, and it's I can't explain it. It's about family. I
No,
don't
you're
know.
you're you're right. No, you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
We still do Santa. Chris knows Santa isn't real, but you know what he does? When he wraps gifts and he writes, to mom from Santa, because now he says he wants to do the Santa stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's rad that my kid wants to join in. And so we each get a gift from Santa. That's awesome that he still keeps that tradition up and thinks it's kick ass.
yeah,
And yeah, and I hope if he has children that we can join in that fun as well, because it's a fun tradition. I've never, I mean, I don't know if you guys have you ever heard of a person having deep-seated psychological trauma because they found out Santa wasn't real?
no,
Yeah.
no, and I I grew up, lots of. I still remember, some girls like, I was told Santa wasn't real, and even if we didn't believe it, we like, he's totally real, because for a couple hours Santa's real because he's moving the presents under the tree.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, there's actually there's actually a scene. This is going to sound weird for a science fiction story, but there's actually a scene where one of the characters meets Santa. And it
Oh, hell
happened.
yeah.
It happened, and the Trinod will totally fight you over it. It totally happened, and we'll fight you over it. Okay, Jesus, calm down.
You know
No.
what movie really did a good job representing Santa? Elf.
I didn't like
Oh,
Elf.
Oh, he's
well,
played by he's played by
Ed
Ed
Asner.
Asner in that, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I just like the scene with Bob Newhart and what's his name? I can't stand him as an actor, but I
Will Ferrell.
tolerated him for Elf. Thank you. When
I
they were
thought you were
talking
gonna
about,
say
yeah, there's
James Caan for a second.
no, I fucking love James Caan. I love every actor in that movie except for Will Ferrell. Everybody else was great. Even
That
Yeah, I'm
was
a
Fives
my
big
on
fan of
Love
problem with
was
Faze
it
in
on
it.
too.
Love.
Um, but when they talk about how there's that stupid rumor spreading around that the parents are actually Santa, they're like, that's dumb. Everybody knows Santa's the one that brings the toys. But I liked how they addressed that in that movie. It's like, oh, that's a stupid rumor.
And that's great
Actually,
because kids see that movie.
Yeah.
the one that I liked was the movie Santa Claus with Tim Allen, because you have the scene with the mom and her new boyfriend, and he's like this like incredibly killjoy. Oh no, Santa's not real. It's wrong to tell your kids that Santa exists type of person, and they're having a talk about when they discovered that Santa wasn't real. And he said, I was 3 years old. I wanted a weenie whistle and I didn't get it. So, and that's
The
how I
Santa
knew that.
Claus.
Yep. And that's
Yeah,
how I
I
knew that
remember he
Santa
gives
wasn't
them the
real.
Oscar Mayer whistle at the
Yeah.
end.
And have you
But
ever noticed that with boomers? I found out Santa wasn't real because I didn't get what I wanted.
yes. Yeah, that was their thing, and that's what stuck with me is now I hear about those people who are total killjoys. It's like, so what how old were you when Santa didn't bring you the weenie whistle?
That's
Yeah,
the whole point of the movie Fat Man.
Yeah.
Walton Goggins' character is so bitter because he didn't get what he wanted from Santa. He became a murderous sniper. Oh, and William, Faison Love didn't die. He's okay.
Oh, okay. Somebody in the chat told me he did, and I got panicked a little bit.
No, Faison Love's still alive. Big
Oh,
Worm's
sweet.
still there. Or I'm sorry, Big Perm. No, it's Big Worm. That's right, Big Worm.
But yeah, it's like there were plenty of Christmases I didn't get what I want. In fact, there was one year I got nothing that I wanted, and yeah, I was disappointed. But hey, that's life. You get used to disappointment and you move on, right?
yeah, and that's it. That's just it. A lot of people don't realize, the boomers were really bad about, oh, I'm disappointed, so fuck everybody.
Hmm.
They were bad about that. Growing up with them, growing up as one of their kids. Yeah, totally found that out. But it was, and it shows in the movies. Oh, I didn't get what I want. That means Santa's not real. Well, maybe Santa figured you were a little fucking douche all year, because they always gloss over that part.
Hmm.
Santa will look at your list and see what you should get based on how you behaved all year. Oh, I acted like a little retard and burned down the school and assaulted multiple people that stole a car, but Santa didn't bring me this $3,000 gift. Well, yeah, no shit. Okay, you didn't even get coal because coal is useful.
That's right. That a lot of people don't know what the tradition of getting coal was. That you got the
No.
coal because coal kept you alive, so at least
Yes,
you had something to keep you warm. It was
you
supposed
and
to
the
be a
family warm.
morality lesson. Yeah.
Hmm. And you got
Um,
switches because you were a bad kid, and that was telling your parents that you need a beating.
Yeah.
yeah, and if you're not careful, next year Krampus was going to come and take you and put you in a sack. Isn't
Hmm.
Krampus knocked coming up? Isn't
Uh,
it the 7th or the 8th?
I legitimately don't know.
One of these years I'm going. Well, no, actually, I don't want to go to Europe anymore because it's fucking hellhole. But I used to want to go to Germany and go to I think it's Germany that has the huge Krampus parade at the beginning of December.
I
Is it
thought it was
Germany?
Netherlands.
Or maybe it's the Netherlands. Well, actually, I wouldn't mind going to the Netherlands. They seem to kind of have their shit together.
Go on.
Um,
Go.
but yeah, I wouldn't mind going to the Krampusnacht parade. That'd be great.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's something recently. There's something in the last, I don't know. It got bad in the 80s. In the 90s it started going away a little bit, but it got really bad in the last 10 or 15 years where nobody is allowed to be happy. If you're
Hmm.
happy, somebody wants to run up and give you reasons why you can't be happy. And it's like, why? I don't get it. I don't get it why everybody has to be miserable. I do something when I write every Friday. I have the Friday safety briefing, and I'll read last week's to you guys. It's the Friday safety briefing. It is here's your weekend safety briefing. Don't drink and drive. Don't beat your spouse, kids, pets, in-laws, parents, siblings, random clowns, or the mailman. Don't eat things you find behind the fridge. Don't buy, sell, manufacture, transport, store, or use illegal drugs. Get the candy before getting in the van. Don't eat yellow snow. Help those who can help. Know when to reach out to others. Don't touch Willie. He likes that. Finally, take care of yourself and others. That's the weekend safety briefing. And people have told me that thing means a lot to them because everybody else wants everyone to be miserable. And I'm like, that's like one of the safety briefings where, like, midgets don't grant wishes no matter how hard you shake them. And I don't know what it is with people. They're just like, I want everyone to be miserable. And it's like, why? Why do they have to be miserable? Well, there's no reason to be happy.
Well,
Yeah,
Well,
Lorraine.
they
that's
can
very.
kiss my ass. There are so many reasons to be happy. Yes, life deals you horrible shit. It also hands you gold.
It's also
Oh,
I feel sorry for you that you have that outlook on things.
there's that old Chinese tale, and so many people don't get it. There's this Chinese tale about that Buddhist monk doing Buddhist monk shit, and a tiger jumps out and he runs from it, and it chases him off a cliff, and he grabs a vine, and he looks down, there's another tiger below, and the tiger up above, and a mouse comes out and starts chewing on the vine, and he looks around, and he sees a berry, and he reaches out and picks the berry, and he eats it, and it's the most perfect berry ever.
Hmm.
People don't get that anymore. People don't understand what that's about. He doesn't jump down and karate kick the fucking lion. I mean, the tiger. He we all know he got eaten, but they don't get that anymore. That life is. I see so many people, and it really hurts me. It's me saying this. Of all people, it really bothers me that so many people's lives they literally can't find a moment of happiness in their life, and I'm like, why not? I mean, no matter how bad things have been, I have always known it could get worse. And so I was grateful for at least any of the good things that were going on. What's the good thing? Well, I'm laying in the ditch, the car's on fire, and I can't feel my legs, but at least I was the only one in the vehicle. So I got that going for me. And the fire's, keeping me kind of warm. And my cigarettes didn't all get crushed, so I'm gonna lay here and smoke and wait for the ambulance. So score, cigarettes are still good. There's always something, and people are like, "Oh, I can barely think of a reason to go on." It's like, what? It's like, why? It's like, why are you giving up? Well, things are this and the other thing. It's like, I get it, things are bad, but you can change things. No, you can't. I hate this. You can't change things. I hate this. I
That's
hate
why I
that you
kind
have
of like.
people that,
That's why I kind of like Jigsaw.
yeah, yeah.
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 You've gone through life and never appreciated anything you have. So here's a deadly trap. Get out of it.
Cut your leg off,
Yeah.
and then we'll see how well you feel about yourself.
Let me get this straight. So if I chop my arm off, I live, and this asshole that I hate from work dies. He should have started chopping. Jigsaw would still be talking about the game, and I'd have my arm half off.
Yeah, that's the mistake everybody makes, is that they always go, "Oh fuck off, sis, let me out" for like 10 minutes, and then
Yeah. I have a comic I love. It's this Asian guy chained to a bench, and there's 3 glasses, and Jigsaw goes, "Would you like to play a game? One of these 3 glasses is poisoned." And the guy starts drinking them, and he's like, "Wait, aren't you gonna let me explain the rules?" And he sticks a finger in his face, drinks all 3, and dies. And Jigsaw's like, "What the fuck? Fuck you and your game." Another thing that sums up my series is the old joke. There's a Brit, a German, and Irishman wash up on this deserted island. Only it's not deserted. It's got a tribe of cannibals on it. The cannibals capture them, beat them. And they come up and they say, "Okay, you get one last request, and then we're going to kill you and turn you into a canoe." And the Brit goes, "I want to sleep with the most beautiful women of the tribe." And they go, "Okay." And he sleeps with the most beautiful women in the tribe. And the next morning, they kill him and make his skin into a canoe. The German guy goes, "Well, I want to get absolutely ripped on your best alcohol and sleep with your mother." So he has the best alcohol, sleeps with the guy's mother. Next day, they kill him, turn his skin into a canoe. Irishman looks at him and goes, "I want a fork." And they're like, "What?" And like, "I want a fork." "That's it. Just give me a fork." So they give the Irishman a fork. He starts stabbing himself with a fucking fork. And Dave's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Fuck you and your canoe." Humanity, boys and girls. And the universe made that everyone's problem.
Yes.
Hey guys, I hate to be the joy killer,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
need
yeah.
to head to bed. Or not
Yes.
actually head to bed, but head to bed soon.
Yeah, me too. It's been really great talking to all of you. I know we touched on some pretty dark stuff, but I think it was a pretty uplifting conversation, all in all.
Yep.
I think so.
Hi.
And
Definitely.
remember, get the candy before you get in the van.
Yes. And William, we got to have you back on again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be back on in a much more like shilly capacity once we're closer to having Cerulean Flare release, which should be late
Excellent.
February, early March.
We never
Well,
reviewed Opal Embers, so I wouldn't mind doing that because I know we did it for the Crimson Spark.
Yeah, we need to schedule for that.
you still have my what's that called? Twitter, don't you, William?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah.
I have your Twitter, and I just followed you, Janelle, because I didn't know you were on there.
When you get a
I pop
chance,
on now and then.
when you get a chance, send me an ad for either one of your books. Maybe the one before the one that's coming out,
Okay.
and I'll throw it in the back of Boil. I'll put it in the back of Toil and Trouble.
Okay.
And with that, William, where can people find you?
You can find me on X or Instagram I'm Mr. Will Hastings. You can find all my novels on Amazon and all my audiobooks on Audible under William Hastings. I'll have 2 new ones in 2024, both audio and print, so look forward to that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Excellent. And Ralts, for any new people that may have stumbled in, where can they find you?
Usually passed out in the backyard, but if
Oh.
you're looking for my books, you can find them on Amazon. I'm on Twitter, usually, shit posting for fun. Other than that, if you're poor, because life is tough, times are hard, we all got to buy our own Christmas card. If you're really poor and don't have the money, especially this season, but you need some escapism, go to Reddit or Royal Road. On Reddit, look up First Contact in the /HFY. On Royal Road, look up Behold Humanity and read it for free, because to be honest, spend your money on your kids or your spouse or hell, even yourself, and get some escapism from me on me, because it's times are tough. And I know that sounds weird, but if you want to buy my stuff, wait till next month, because times are shitty. Eggs cost $5 a carton.
Yes. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Night.
Right.